Hello people, welcome to the game today. So it's me Ben, and I'm here with a review of Mockingjay. So yes, Mockingjay is the final book in the Hunger Games Trilogy. It is written again by Suzanne Collins, like the last two books, of course, and it continues the story of Katniss. So yes, at the end of the last book, well actually, before I say, this review will contain spoilers for the last two books. Yeah, and this book actually, because I'm just going to assume you've read the book. So yes, it will contain spoilers. So at the end of Catching Fire, you was in the Quell arena. Katniss was in the Quell arena along with all the others when she destroyed the dome thing covering, and she was rescued by the Resistance along with Finnick, Beatty. Yeah, I think it was just Finnick and Beatty that she was rescued with. Now, District 12 was also destroyed. So I almost said film then. The book opens with Katniss standing in a destroyed District 12 and sort of like contemplating what's happened and what is going to happen. Now, Mockingjay is, in my opinion, the worst Hunger Games book. And the reason why is because it's not about the Hunger Games. It's a war book. The entire book is based around this war that the last two have been leading up to, like a revolution from the people in 12 and 13 started, but the rest of the districts joined them to, of course, rebel against the capital and try and take down President Snow. So you have this war going on, and what irritates me is even though Catching Fire had a very slow sort of entirety, I suppose, it didn't get going until the last act. This doesn't get going until the last act, but the first two acts are complete crap, whereas the first two acts of Catching Fire were actually very good. The last act of Mockingjay is incredibly well written. It's one of the most enjoyable war books I have read. I mean, I haven't read many, because I'm not a big war book fan, which is probably why I don't like Mockingjay that much. But it was probably the best war kind of thing I've read. It's incredibly violent, incredibly gory, incredibly bloody. I hope they make the film at least a 15. If they don't make it a 15, if it's a 12, it will not. It won't be any good because this book is meant to shock you with the fact that it's it literally just throws everything at you. There is people having their lower torso blown off. There are bits where children are killed. There are bits where it's very bloody, it's very gory, it's very violent. So if it's not at least a 15, I'm hoping for an 18 rating to be perfectly honest. But if it's not at least a 15, it won't get the point. It won't get the point across. Anyway, back to the book. Um, it so yeah, Peter and Joanna and a few others were taken by the capital, hostage kind of thing, and they get rescued fairly early on. I think it's second act, if that they get rescued. So it's fairly early on. It's like you under 200 pages that they get rescued, and Peter has been brainwashed to think that Katniss is going to kill him, and Joanna is Joanna. Yeah, there's not much difference about her, to be perfectly honest. She's still a bitch. But yes, essentially most of the pre-war section is Katniss and Peter trying to rebuild their relationship. Now, Katniss being a complete and utter bitch, hates him for the fact that he now wants to kill her to protect himself because he has been brainwashed into thinking that she's going to kill him. He's killing her in self-defense in his mind. Now, she for some reason doesn't see this. She just sees it as he doesn't like her anymore. I think that he doesn't like her anymore. So in a sense, she's just acting like a complete utter bitch to him. It takes several people to say to her, look, he doesn't think you are who you are anymore. You need to rebuild that relationship it takes about 5 or 6 people to say that to her for her to realise, oh yeah, he got brainwashed. It's, she's just the most stupid person on the face of the earth, and the fact that she's trying to get back at him by sort of being all nice and friendly to Gale is just fucking retarded. But then Gale does a good thing. I respect Gale in this last book. I do highly respect him for what he does. He basically says to her, get out, kind of thing, because he realises, unless he is in pain, well, he realised this in the last book, but it really shows in this book, unless he is in pain, she doesn't care for Gale in that way. In the way he wants her to, she does care for Peter, which is why she's acting in this way. But it's just such a retarded thing to bring it across with. So, yeah, essentially, I don't like Mockingjay that much. I've said it before in this video, I'm going to say it again. I don't like it that much. I much preferred the first 2 books because they got across the point of the Hunger Games. This wasn't to the Hunger Games, it was a war book. Of course, it appeals to the Hunger Games fans, and it may not appeal to some Hunger Games fans. I consider myself a fan, it didn't appeal to me. The ending is very well done. It doesn't play how you think it's going to play out. The entire way through, you think, like, from the very second that you realise it's President Snow who creates these games, etc., you think from the very point that it begins, you think, okay, Katniss is going to kill him, and everything's going to be fine. Yeah, it doesn't play out like that. Of course, this is for people who have read the book, so you know she doesn't kill President Snow. President Snow dies of his own accord. She instead kills the president of District 13, and then causes a new president to be in order because she's a bitch. Some events just didn't make sense. Like, I can sort of understand why she killed the president of District 13, but it was more because they just didn't like each other, to be perfectly honest. Because I think that President Coin, if President Coin had been president, I think, like President Snow was president, I think she might have done a good job. But because Katniss doesn't like her, she kills her. So there's just bits in this book that so irritates me. But like I said before, if you're a Hunger Games fan, pick up the book. You owe yourself to pick up the book and finish it. And if you've read this review, like I've said, you probably have already read it. But if you haven't, you owe yourself to read this book. Just because it's another Hunger Games book. It finishes off the thing, and the final chapter, the epilogue, was very good, but it just goes completely against Katniss's character. It was a very nice way to end the books. It goes completely against her character. For her saying all along, yeah, I'm not going to have kids, I don't want to bring them up in this kind of world, and then she brings them up. Like she has children. I mean, I know the world has changed, but she says, we're going to have to tell them about what the world was like, what we had to do. Like, we had to kill people we liked, and they're buried outside our front door. So yeah, it just didn't make sense. That's also the very last bit. But, read it, hopefully enjoy it. If you don't, it's a great series anyway. It's worth the read. So yes, I hope you enjoyed my Hunger Games Trilogy review. At some point I'll get onto the Scott Pilgrim books. I will probably review the film at some point because I like the first film. Can't wait for Catching Fire film this year. Mockingjay will be split into 2 films. I reckon I can sort of work out. If you read the books, I think you can work out where they're going to sort of split them. Anyway, thanks for watching, check out the other videos, rate, comment, subscribe, and once again, thank you!